guys, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year! 2021.
So great.
21.
Yes.
Amazing. We are here with the amazing Jed and Kayla Kasica.
Yes.
Thank you so much for taking some time out to do this.
Absolutely. Yes, thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's just awesome. I'll tell you what, me and Mandy like to we actually like to start with the hardest questions first.
Correct.
Okay.
That way you guys can just kind of relax the rest of the time, we can chat.
Perfect.
Right? But
Great.
these are, I would think, theologically some of the most important questions we're gonna have for the day.
Great.
Okay.
All right, do you wanna start?
Yeah.
Go for it.
I will start. In your perspective,
Yeah.
who would you say plays the best Batman?
Plays the best Batman?
I need to lean on you. I like the one that has Heath Ledger
That's Christian
as
Bale.
the Joker.
Christian Bale, that's Christian
That
Bale.
Now,
one.
who's their best? Michael Keaton, Christian
Yeah.
Bale,
Yeah, George Clooney.
George Clooney,
Val
Val
Kilmer.
Kilmer,
Soon
And
to be
then-
Edward Cullen.
Yep.
Robert
Affleck.
Pattinson,
Ben
Ben
Affleck.
Affleck.
Oh, Ben was good too.
Ben was good.
But not as good as the first one that I said.
Yeah.
I'd probably say I like Christian Bale the best. I like Ben Affleck's grisliness.
Yeah.
Grisliness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Grisliness.
I get it. I get it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well,
Okay. Gotcha.
But I'm intrigued by the new Batman,
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to have a little bit of a different
Oh,
spin.
no.
yeah, he will. Very skinny one.
Maybe like
That is grizzly.
That is Grizzly.
he's like a millennial Batman.
He's a millennial Batman, right? Oh, that's
Oh, it's awesome. What about you guys?
Christian
You're going
Bale.
to ask the
Christian
tough
Bale.
questions.
Christian
Okay.
Bale.
I am 100% Michael Keaton.
Okay.
100% Michael Keaton. He's by far, in my mind, the best Batman.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I haven't seen those.
I don't blame you.
So that's probably why.
Can I
I
tell
Not
you-
missing out on anything.
They're actually phenomenal. Jack
Yeah.
Nicholson plays Joker in the first one.
I know that.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Danny DeVito's
Kim
the
Basinger's
Penguin.
in it,
Yeah. Great,
Yeah.
great
That's the
films.
one that came out in 89.
89.
The
yeah.
documentary.
Yep.
Changed the world.
Watch,
Just
yeah.
watch the
It
documentary.
absolutely changed the world.
Wait,
It's my
Were
favorite
you
movie.
born then?
89. The year, the documentary, 1989, the year that changed the world.
Yeah.
The year I was born.
They missed that episode,
Wow.
but surely
Right.
that is
I
one
mean,
of the
wow.
things.
Wow, did they not
They
didn't
missed that
highlight that in the documentary?
It's a later episode.
Okay,
Okay.
fair play.
Yeah.
Fair
Gotcha.
play.
Okay.
That's
Perfect.
amazing. So then my big question to you. So you guys, we've been friends for years. You
Yeah.
know
Yes.
us very, very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Between me and
Oh,
Mandy.
no.
Here we go.
Mandy.
Thank you. Thank you, Kayla.
Wow.
I say Kayla.
Who's Batman? Who's Robin?
Like, what?
So am I Batman or am I Robin? Is Mandy Batman or is she Robin? Which one are we?
Who's in charge is what you're asking?
No, I'm asking which
Pretty
one's
much,
Batman. When
yes.
you look at them, you think that's Batman. There's
We're
the
not
sidekick.
talking physical
I'm going to
characteristics.
stick with my answer of Amanda
You
because
think Amanda's
she's
Batman?
fierce.
Thank
She is
you.
fierce. That's true.
Thank
No,
you.
I've,
That mama bear.
Yes.
yeah, Robin can be a mama bear.
Totally.
Oh, okay. Okay, Jed. All right. I see.
Well said, my friend.
Okay.
Got him.
You got him. Well, guys, I completely
Yeah,
agree
there
with
you
you,
go.
Jed.
I
That's right, my stance.
completely agree with Kayla.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we win.
Oh, this is.
There we go. There's another one. Well, guys, thanks so much for asking those very difficult questions.
Absolutely.
One of the things we really like to talk about when we sit down with different people is just asking people about their testimony of what Jesus Christ did in their lives.
Yeah.
So really, I just kind of want to know about your salvation.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to go first?
I can.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
I was born ready.
Let's go. Let's hear
You
it.
can go.
I'm a contemplator. Give me
You
a minute.
really are. Okay. I was raised in a Christian household.
Yeah.
So I would say I grew up my whole life knowing about God.
Yeah.
Like I went to summer camp every summer from 3rd grade to 8th grade, recommitted my life to God every single time. They gave me like glitter eyeshadow
Come
as like
on.
an indication.
Ooh, yeah.
So when they're like, when your parents ask, what's the glitter eyeshadow? You can be like, it's because I gave my heart to Jesus.
Oh, we should do that
so
now.
we should. There's an
Come on.
idea for you.
Come on.
Oh,
So I always
yes. I love that idea.
I bet you do.
Keep going,
I bet
babe.
you do.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
So I always grew up knowing God, knowing of Him, and like wanting to love Him, but always feeling like I couldn't quite do that. So like summer camp high, you're like, I'm gonna do everything right. I'm never gonna lie. I'm gonna read my Bible every day. And like 2 weeks later, you're just back to whatever
Right.
life was. So fast forward till when I was 19, and somebody in a restaurant, gave my sister a prophetic word who did not know her from Adam that really rocked her world, like read her mail. And she said, I want to invite you to a church called New Life, which was the Point's name back in the day in 2008. My sister didn't want to go alone, so she invited me, and I thought, I'll go for her. It's good for her. That would be good for her.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And so we drove up to the building in Caledonia, and the person who had invited us from the restaurant marched us up to the front row and said, I'd like to sit on the front row. I hope that's okay. And I remember thinking, nobody sits in the first 5 pews. Like that. We were the 6th pew, that's where we sat. And I just remember feeling the presence of God in worship like it was at summer camp, like when we had club and I felt like I could close my eyes and raise my hands and feel the presence of God. And so it was an amazing time of worship, an amazing word preached all about faith. And at the end, the preacher said, if you're sick of being sick of it, and if you're tired of being tired of it, just give your life up to the Lord. Just surrender your heart to Him. And I just knew, there was just nothing else I wanted to do in that moment. And so I did. And it was the best decision I've ever made. And then the meeting went on, and then Andrew got up and said that the fire of God is in this house. If you want to be bold, if you want to be courageous, if you want to be set on fire for God and for His kingdom purpose, come up right now. So I did, and I was filled and baptized in the Holy Spirit, and I had no idea what was happening, but I just knew I was forever changed. I fell in love with Jesus. I just was like, I feel like I'm that high school girl that has a crush that's like going to re-navigate her hallway schedule to run into the guy that she wants to see, like Jesus. I just met the man who changed my life and I fell in love with. And that was this year, it'll be 13 years in June.
Amazing.
So awesome.
And so that's kind of my testimony and how I came to have a living relationship with God. Not just religion, not check the boxes, not just go to church, but walking with God.
Excellent.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's great.
Your turn, contemplate.
Let's go. I was also raised in a Christian home, gave my life to the Lord at a young age. I remember pretty vividly being baptized in water in my Simba shirt.
Come on, Simba.
And
Not Old Navy.
Not Old Navy. That was evolution of Jed. But I remember getting baptized in water at a young age. I remember being filled with the Holy Spirit at a youth camp when I was around 12, 13 years old. And right around that same time, I had my very first, it was a leather-bound Bible. I had that Bible for 15 years, a long time. So it's I feel a lot of what my relationship with God began at a very young age. And it was very real and very much a part of my life. And I think from a young age, it felt like a priority to me. It never felt oh, that's just that's my parents' thing, or that's just a part of my life. But for whatever reason, I think from a young age, it always felt like a priority. Being at church, being at youth group, involvement in church community was really important. And my relationship with God was really important, and wanting to have that be an important part of my life throughout my developing years. And so I think that for me, I think is huge. Even as as an adult today, I think about the things my parents instilled in me, the things that they poured into me at a young age, and the impact that the seed that they sowed. And then I'm walking in the fruit of that today.
True.
And so for me, I think my relationship with God, I think, has always been a priority, from a very young age, and walking that out, and obviously learning and growing and developing and maturing and all of that along the way. But for me, I think that's really the sum of my story. Young age it began, and it's just grown and developed since that moment. But it's beautiful.
That is beautiful.
Which I love. My favorite testimonies, it's hard to say. There's a lot of amazing testimonies.
But
the ones where God just kept people their whole life through. The faithfulness and the protection of that is just beautiful.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's one that we talk about all the time. I think the testimony that touches us in a way that brings a lot of faith and hope and peace. Certainly, as I met God young, and all my days
Never
were filled with
departed.
blessed. Never departed me. And I know that is a testimony that we'll see more and more of as years go. But
I think sometimes people think they have to have this crazy thing,
sure.
to make a testimony matter. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
So if you weren't some crazy person before, right? Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes that's what people think, and I think I agree. The best testimony you can ever have is, I was with Jesus forever, and I think it's.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah. And I remember when you guys came to church.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Because that's coming up on, around the same time frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, about the
12
same time.
years? Yeah.
Yeah, because I was.
30.
Let's see, it's been 13 years.
Yeah.
It's been 13 years because.
Jeez. Wow.
How old are you?
Is that a question?
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's totally okay. I think I'm 42. Mandy keeps telling me I'm 43 though.
I'm pretty sure you're 43.
Okay, I was born in 77, so.
Am I doing
February
the math
77.
wrong?
I was 89.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'm 42. I'll check.
I have to count it out. I can't do
Yeah.
that.
If
in my head.
you, that's true. I am definitely, you're younger than what I've been saying I am, so I'll take it.
Yeah, that works for you.
I know, right?
Yeah, you're 41. I am 43. You're right.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I know how old she is because I remember the
Way
birthday.
to blast it out there,
Yeah.
by the way.
My bad.
Okay.
My bad.
Edit that
Well,
out.
41 cut in half is 20 and a half. So, so it's been a while, and it's one of the things me and May talk about all the time is our gratitude. We got to grow up with you.
With you guys,
Yeah.
yes.
There's a lot of reasons we're close, but one of the things we talk about this with our kids all the time is never forget the people that loved you when you were young.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
it is
So many
amazing.
stages.
There's so many things that we went through. And
Yeah.
Yes.
the shocking thing is, to see what God actually did in us and where we
Yeah.
are now, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's shocking. But the fact, too, that, we went through this together, but that you guys are still our friends.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Well, and vice
after,
versa.
Because, we were like
We were very different.
different.
Yeah.
Yes.
We were very different than you guys, but we grew. Our love for God is kind of what connected us.
100%.
Yeah.
And our love for God's people.
Yeah.
And God's house.
Yeah,
Yes.
God's house.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
building the church. And
Yeah.
you guys now help lead the Grand Rapids campus, and you're a huge part of what we do on whether it be online or in seat and watching. I remember when Jed was an intern, right? And
Yeah.
we- But I remember, I remember when he lived in our house, and he lived with us for a while.
I do remember those days.
The wonder years.
The
of-
wonder years,
Medic,
yeah.
medic.
Yeah, I was telling somebody the other day, I remember the first time I was ever preaching, I was terrified. And the solace I had is there's going to be 10 people there to hear me. Like, I thought it's going to be okay.
In
remember
Easttown?
Yeah, I was like,
Yes.
it's going to be okay. But I remember poor Jed, I'd sometimes be like, does this make sense what I'm trying to say? And I'd read it to him over and over and over. He'd go, yeah, just try to be different. I'm like, okay. Because I was like so boxy when I was trying to say it. And then I remember that morning, you were interning at the time as well. You had sent out an email to the church. And I was crushed.
Announcing that you.
Yeah, you're like, Karl's speaking at Easttown, everybody come out. I was like, everybody?
Yeah.
Why would she do that? They're going to all be disappointed, And so I get there, and there was people sitting on the ground because there was no seats left. And I thought this was like my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
It was my worst nightmare. And I was very scared. I remember preaching, thinking that would be the only time I'd ever preach.
No.
I do remember you
Wow.
saying that.
I said, I got this one message. I'm going to preach it real quick. And then I'm done. That's it. I'm good. I'll never preach again.
Okay, but was that the time that Carol and Ange prophesied over
There was
you?
Carol, Ange, and
Yeah.
Dave. Yeah.
Wow.
It came up. And
Yep.
I remember preaching the message. They came up. And I remember, there's a few things I remember. I remember looking at you. I remember you were sitting there. I remember sitting back down, and someone said it's like an egg that just cracked. And it was already a bird that flew, like was flying.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, these are really interesting moments.
They
But
got hatched quick.
yeah, I was definitely overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And then I don't know that I knew what to do next. And you were a huge part, Jed and Kayla, for me and Amanda, you were a stabling force in our lives, where we trusted your wisdom, we trusted your input. We I don't want to say we wanted your approval,
Well,
but we
we
did. We wanted to make sure that we were lining up with your spiritual maturity at that time was so advanced to ours.
Well, you know how
Yeah.
you're like, okay, so hear me because I might say this wrong.
Say
But
it.
when you have a little boy, right? And
Yeah.
he's like, oh, that's my parents. One day he'll think, I want to grow up to be just like my dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Or Uncle Karl, whatever.
Right.
Or Aunt Mandy.
But to us, you guys were those people to
Yeah.
us. We were like, oh, Jed and Kay, even though you guys weren't married, right, at that point.
You were younger than us, too.
You were
Yeah.
way younger than
Yeah,
us, right?
substantially.
And I think we always looked up to you guys because you guys helped us so much, whether you know it or not,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And we were like, okay, we don't want Jed and Kayla to be disappointed in us or like, we just want to make them proud. What can we do to help them, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because we knew you guys had such a huge calling on your lives separately. I mean, Jed's was like a brother. He lived with us, right?
Yeah.
So it was just an interesting dynamic that I think shaped us so much.
Totally.
And now looking at where you guys are now and the impact that you have on our children.
Yeah.
Right? It's just, to me.
It's beautiful.
It's really special.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, those are just like some of the fondest years and memories of growing together.
Yeah.
And growing together like in our ugly.
Well,
Like when people say that, it's this like really sweet idea, like, oh, we grew together. It's like, no, we put up with and
oh my
bared
gosh.
with one another and laughed with each other and
Oh, yeah.
forgave one another
Yes.
and cheered each other on
Yes.
and encouraged each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
And the same is still true today, but
Yes.
just amazing foundations.
It is. It's something. Me and May talk about. We joke all the time that Jed and Kayla's name comes up more in our house than Jesus.
Stop.
No, I'm dead serious. Austin's constantly saying like, "Well, Jed said this," or "Jed said this,"
Oh,
and-
great.
Or I'll say, Austin, I'd love you to do X. He'd be like, "I got to talk to my elder. I'll call Jed." And I'm like, "Oh man." And so there's this aspect that your impact is, and I hope our impact into a lot of people is generational, right?
Yes.
And well, you guys had a
100%.
huge impact in us, and Andrew and Ange had a huge impact into us.
Yes.
There's so many people I could name, but
Yeah.
Sure.
there's all these people that helped shape us, and now we get to be part of helping shape their generational
Yeah.
tree,
100%.
And
Yeah.
and I think you had mentioned, your love for the church and the house, and you mentioned the house,
Yeah.
and can you talk about what that's meant for you, as people that are very hungry after the kingdom and you love God's people in the way you do.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I think when it comes to church and just people in general, and this probably rings true a little bit in you as well, of just wanting to see people, number one, step into everything God's called them to be.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think if you're alive and you're breathing, you have purpose.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
God has a plan for your life, and we want to see you step into that.
Yeah.
I think another aspect to that is maturity and growth.
Yeah.
And seeing people grow that way as well. That's a part of our calling as Christians, is to be strong in our character, strong in our integrity. That's a huge part of what sets us apart from the world.
Absolutely.
And I think the church is called to be holy, to be set apart. And I think that touches so many areas of our life. And so I think that's a big part of what at least my passion is for church and just for people in general, is to see them flourishing, to see them loving God, to see them giving their heart to Him so genuinely, authentically, not religion at all, relationship. But then God has a purpose for your life.
Totally.
So let's find what that is and step into that even more.
It's excellent.
Yeah. I think my dream is to see the bride make herself ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Like
beautiful.
maturity in the church, victory in the church because of what Christ paid for. And I remember God spoke to me prophetically through a circumstance and a dream to be thorough in His word.
Come on.
And
Yeah.
it was when I worked in car sales, and I
Yeah.
had this customer who was the most meticulous, thorough man you've ever met in your life. Window
Sure.
stickers
Yeah,
that come
yeah.
on new cars?
Yeah.
Most people, you do a car delivery and they ask, okay, where are people know where the headlights are.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
kind of know where all the things
Right,
are,
yes,
right?
yes.
Technology, I understand it's a big piece
Yeah.
for a lot
Right,
of people.
right.
Most people kind of can figure
Yeah.
this out.
Yep.
Well, this individual, who I will remain nameless,
Yeah, yeah.
let's call him Joe.
Yeah. It's good.
Joe, after he purchased this vehicle, put the window sticker out in front of me and he said, I want to know every single thing that this car can do. So we went
crazy.
through bullet point by bullet point, every single point on that window
Wow.
sticker.
No way.
To the point where I was standing in front of the car and he sitting in the car would flash the brights and say, are the brights on? Yep. Are these the fog lights? Yep. Are these the headlights? Yep. Now how do I get the rear air? I mean, just hours. I probably spent 4 to 6 hours cumulatively showing this guy his car.
Wow.
And what he said to me was, if I paid for this car, I want to know everything it can do.
That's brilliant.
I totally get that.
Right? I mean,
I
yes,
mean, I
that,
get it,
that
yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But what God spoke to me in that was that he has purchased something for us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
precious, so beautiful, so amazing. He paid the highest price.
Yeah.
He paid the life of his son, right? And he's purchased something for us that means victory and freedom from sin here and now.
Yeah.
Not one day in heaven.
Right.
Not, we don't just hold on and hope for the best until we die. That we have like freedom from sin and victory over death here on earth even now.
So
which
good.
is just phenomenal to me.
It is.
So I just want to see, and I know I've heard people say this, but I want to see Jesus get everything that he paid for
Come
in
on.
his bride and in his
So
church.
good.
And that's
Beautiful.
my heartbeat for the church. And
awesome.
for
That's
God's house.
amazing.
That's so
So
good.
good.
I think it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know I mentioned the prophetic words that you got when you were preaching, so I'll segue into what your thing is, although you can expound on it. But if you don't remember, or for everybody else listening, it was prophesied that you have seen the love of God in such a way.
Yeah.
And this
Huge.
love is going to pour forth from you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was however many years ago, and
Yeah.
it's been so cool to see that word come to
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Like the love that you have for people. You teach us. Like
Oh,
you're
yeah.
talking about how
Yeah.
we helped you. Okay, you help us love people
Help
to
me
a
love.
level to a level that
so
is
true.
like so. I mean, that's your pastoral gift.
It
But
is,
like,
yeah.
can you talk more about that?
Yeah, I
too?
think, man, I remember, for me, it was really early on, this overwhelming sense of love of God and God's people in his house.
Yeah.
When I got saved I don't know if Mandy had ever seen me cry our whole marriage until the moment I
Wow.
got saved.
Wow.
I remember my kids.
Well, when Nicole was born was
Yeah,
the first
yeah,
time I
yeah.
ever seen you cry.
Yeah, that was.
And that went on way too long.
That was
and
tough.
then that was it.
Yeah,
Just Nicole.
Breeze
honestly.
over that.
yeah. Nicole was
Just
born. I was like,
Nicole.
it's a daughter. I was like,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
a moment.
But up until that moment.
Yeah,
no.
I don't think I cried much. I wasn't super emotional. I wasn't. I just wasn't. And I remember the kids, like really panicking. What's wrong with Dad? 'Cause I started crying. They had never seen me cry. And Mom telling it was okay. I remember her saying, it's okay, and me thinking, is it? Is this gonna stop? Like, how do I control this kind of thing? And I remember sitting in the back one day, it's just maybe a few months later, and someone put a mic up. He said, tell me what God did for you.
Wow.
And I remember just the only thing I think is he taught me how to love.
Wow.
And he taught me that because he loved me.
Yeah.
And I think for
It's
me, I just love God so much.
You do.
Yeah.
And I'm just so grateful,
Yeah.
and I love God's people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want everybody to experience this love
Yeah.
and this care. And no matter what anybody does, I'll never remove my love to them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to measure influence, right? I have to measure their influence in my life, but my love for them is never going to go away.
Steadfast.
Because God loved me in a mess,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I actually believe it's a sin to be offended. Like
Yeah.
I genuinely believe that because the Bible tells me so. And so
Is there a song for that?
I think there's a
Right.
huge,
Yeah.
there's for me in the end, all there is love.
Yeah.
And I want to be the best example of Christ I can be. And to be that, I got to love way better than I currently do
Yeah.
every day. And I think for me, that is a huge passion, is that we have fathers that love well. They love
Yeah.
their wives well. It's a selfless love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's so many people today that have a love based on what you can do for them.
Yeah.
Right.
You see it a lot in young marriages. People get married and they're trying to change the partner into what they want,
Yeah.
not trying to figure out how
Yeah.
to bless the partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how do I make them feel more happy? It's you need to change to make me happy.
Or how do I make them pick up the laundry?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. If I walk past that enough,
Yeah.
we'll take it.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
And I think that's a huge part for me. Is like
Yeah.
it's what I wanted for my kids. It's what I want for you guys. And
Yeah.
Just this, I never forget that word. Remember that word. And I think me may talk about sometimes is there's definitely times in my life I'm like, man, I just need more of that pouring out of me. And as much as it is part of who I am, I think there's still times where I think I want more of it. I want this just supernatural, ridiculous
Yeah.
pile of love flowing from me
Yeah.
all the time, because that's who God is to us.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah.
It's amazing.
I think it's just amazing, like for both of you guys, seeing just the transformation in your life, the growth in your life, and just how it's like your presence changes a room. You guys transform a room. Like, it's evident when you're in the room, you know.
Well,
and
I
it's
mean,
not
we are
just
loud.
because no, but it's like it's who you are. It's who God's called you and designed you to be, and it's like that has you have so much influence and weight in someone's day, someone's moment, just by being around you. And I think that's so beautiful. And I know for Kayla and I, it's like just being around you guys has transformed us.
That's awesome.
And changed us and grown us and sharpened us and challenged us and pastored us. It's like everything, right? It's like it's amazing. But you've done that for so many people. And it's really beautiful to see that. And like I celebrate on the pod, celebrate. Heaven is rejoicing over you guys. But it's amazing, and I love it. I love seeing where you are now and like what you're doing and how God is using you guys, not just in the church here, but beyond our church, right? I mean, you guys are making an impact and transforming lives all over the place. It's beautiful.
It is fun.
Yes.
It is fun.
Man, you didn't get to say what you're passionate about in God's house.
Well, babies.
Babies.
Get the first snack
I know, right?
Yeah.
I think
That's amazing.
for me, I think I have two big passions. First, I want to see women grab on to who they're called to be and run with the strength of who they are instead of trying to, compete against and be something they're not.
Yeah.
If we can find the strength of who we are and the identity of God, right?
Yeah.
I think, we're not meant to do what men do, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, they cannot do what we do,
Right.
right? I mean,
Goes without saying.
right?
Without saying.
True.
No need to mention it.
True. I mean, right?
Yeah, true. It's true.
So I think if we can find that, I think we can literally transform our families, our nation, everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I also think that I love kids.
Yeah.
Anybody knows me, they know I love kids.
Yeah.
They're my favorite. But I'm super passionate about watching them grow up and grab a hold of what they're called to do.
Yeah.
It's like that future generation, right? Because,
Yeah.
clearly, one day, we're going to be too old or decrepit or something. Do you know what I mean? To, do you know what I mean?
A long ways away, but yes.
Some days I'm like, oh, my knee. But do you know what I mean? That watching the next generation grab onto what they're called to do and be passionate about it and run after it and watch them grow, hopefully much quicker than what we grabbed a hold of it. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to see them get what they're called to quicker and on a much faster start than what we were.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
what I think I'm super passionate about and what I can't wait to see. Like, I can't wait to see Roman grow up and be who he's called to be and
So good.
start operating in that. Like, I just cannot wait, and I also can't even wait for him to say my name. Right? I would love for him to say my
I am working
name.
on
Hey,
it.
listen, let's be clear. Not everybody's going to know. Roman is their son.
Correct.
He's incredibly wise.
Oh, so wise.
And he understands what he's passionate about and who he loves. And he can say my name.
Well, it's
Okay, but let's just say
it's
he
like
did
Carl.
say your daughter's name first.
Right.
Right, like I said,
So-
I am okay with that.
Okay, you're okay being second?
Yeah, well, to Nicole.
Okay.
Wow.
It's great. Our daughter watches Roman a couple times a week, and
He loves her.
Loves.
dude, we get
Loves
the
Nene.
we get the
Nicole
Romo
is
update.
Nene.
Romo
Right.
The
report.
Romo report, man.
Oh, wow. Yes,
good.
that's good.
I'll be sitting next to
Yeah.
Mandy. She puts it on speaker, and Nicole gives the Romo update.
That's
I'm like, did he
great.
say my name yet? I'm like, come on, Nicole.
Yeah.
Come on,
love
girl.
it.
Like, but no, just like watching, that being able to watch him is just, I cannot wait for,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? For
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And on all the other younger kids and
Yeah.
just watching them
Totally.
grow up. I can't wait to.
Yeah, I think
so
it's-
exciting.
It's more babies.
It's part of this thing about giving your life to what God's called you and to the
Yeah.
family of God is you have this amazing gift in that your kid is going to be shaped by people you trust, you love, but he's also going to grow up with a lot of kids in the same house. You know, I think that for me, you know, I think of all of our friends' kids. I don't want to start naming them all. I'll have to explain who they are. But all of our friends' kids that are in the church that he's going to be around, and they're going to, you know, they're going to push each other, and they're going to make mistakes, and they're going to, but they're going to do life together in a way that's going to make their relationship unique and special, like ours is in a lot of ways. And I think those for me are just exciting things about like this earthly promise we also get in walking with Christ. We get a heavenly promise, but we get this earthly promise that we'll have peace and joy and happiness, and that's part of it, you know. And so I love that. I love that. That's exciting.
It is exciting.
It is. Yeah. So we're coming into this new year.
Yeah.
And
2021.
Let's go.
Yes.
Like, listen, who's ready?
Me.
You know what I mean?
think
like,
the whole world
yes.
Yeah, all of us
happy.
are
Oh
ready.
my
Yes.
God. Hopefully the vision's better than 2020.
When you think about this next year, you know, you guys help lead the GR campus, and obviously very influential with what we do online, our young adult stuff, a lot of different areas. When you look at 2021, and you think about your generations, you know, your generation, the younger generation, the older generation, what are some of your hopes? When you think about them, like, what are your hopes for this generation? Like, when I think about, like, what me and Mandy hope for in this, it is a you know, that the bride that is separated from the world, this shining light on a hill. You know, I believe that this year, that's going to really be highlighted to us. And there's this scripture in Romans, I think it's either Romans 5, 3 verse 5, 3 through 5, or it's Romans 3 through 5, one of the two.
One of them.
Somewhere in the Bible.
Somewhere.
I'm pretty sure it's Romans 5, 3 through 5. It says we embrace suffering because it gives us endurance, which leads to character. And I think that we just went through this 2020 with what suffering that was in a lot of areas. But we had endurance to push through, and it changed our character for 2021. And I think we're going to see a lot of Christians this year embracing this new, unshakable, unwavering, supernatural faith in a God that rules and reigns over everything. So when I look at 2021, that's what I think. What do you guys think?
Wow. No, that's really good.
It is really good. It's a big question.
It is.
I think tying into what you were saying, when I look back at 2020 and I think about it, what a wild opportunity to like really see what was within us.
Yes.
Right.
That's it right
that
there.
Pressure always reveals the person.
Always,
And so we can talk all day about kindness and patience and forgiveness and preferring one another and loving one another and all of these things. But quite frankly, I don't think everybody did that great of a job.
Well,
Myself included,
I would agree.
right?
A lot of people didn't do that great of a
just
job.
the world as a whole. Maybe even you know, even the way I saw some Christians talking and behaving,
100%,
right?
yeah.
I'm really praying and believing that that God does His work in us.
100%.
That we had such a unique opportunity over the course of 2020 that oftentimes we weren't meeting in a building, that we didn't have all these normal things that we kind of build a lot of our walk with God around, that it was kind of all stripped back to reveal what was really within our hearts.
Right.
And our teachability and our humility
absolutely.
and all of this, our empathy, all of these big things that are centered around the gospel that I think we have room to grow in as the body and in maturity. And so, and you also touched on like incredible faith for this year. And I've been really stirred about faith recently because it's such a powerful thing. Reading through Hebrews 11, by faith, by faith, by faith. All these incredible things, not by smarts, not by platform, not by influence, not by the amount of followers you have, not by length of, not by sight, not by, length or experience, by faith.
Come on.
And faith is a gift that God gives us.
Yeah.
So it's not faith for just the things that we would fancy, but faith for the things that God has said He will do here on this earth, which is bring heaven here to earth, to see healing, to see freedom, to see restoration and reconciliation. And all of these things I'm just believing that,
Yeah.
I agree with you, that faith would rise up in people's hearts again to believe beyond the facts and beyond a circumstance and beyond the natural, to know that we can pull down heaven
Yeah.
and go into the spiritual realm and fight battles and pray bold prayers and see things change here on earth.
Right.
By faith.
Come on.
And it's exciting.
It is exciting.
Love it.
So I'm pumped. 2021.
It's gonna be a good year. I was thinking about, this understanding of kingdom, and I think what you guys are saying is spot on. I think things have been stripped away. All you're left with is your own decision of devotion.
Come on.
Am I going to be devoted to God or am I not? Right. And so I think that's a decision so many people have had to make this year.
Yes.
And my hope is that in 2021, that we're not crawling into 2021.
Yeah.
That this year's not just like I got to rebuild, but it's like, no, I made the decision.
Yes.
So looking at this year ahead, 2021, it's like I'm walking in the fruit of that.
Yeah.
Because there's a verse, I think it's Psalm 66. We're all just guessing on verses.
I knew my scripture. You guys 11. I'm clear on that.
But it says, the psalmist says, you brought me through fire.
Yeah.
You allowed the horses to trample over me, but you brought me into a place of abundance.
Come on.
So good.
And I just think that while I don't think God causes things, he does use things to shape and challenge and sharpen us. And I think this is one of those years. It's just one of those years for the church globally. Like this kind of impact globally doesn't happen all the time.
No.
So when you see the global church awakening, when you see the global church, something that's changing and shifting the church as a whole around the world, God is up to something.
He's up to something.
And so what I do know is that whatever is ahead of us is going to be so much better. Whatever ahead of us is going to be brighter and more beautiful and more wonderful. And I think as a church, it does come back to, have I made that decision to make a commitment to Christ? And my hope is
really
that
good.
going into this year, people would be more strong in their identity as believers. The next generation, Gen Z, millennials, boomers, Xers, all of them, right?
Xers.
Gen X.
Gen X.
Oh, I was like,
It's a new
That's
generation.
oh, that's us?
That's you guys.
Yeah, we're Gen X.
I thought we're not baby boomers.
No.
Somewhere right in the middle, I think.
No, we're not in the middle of baby boom. We're not baby boomers.
Gen Xers.
We're Gen X. Yeah.
So you got the boomers, the Zoomers.
Xers.
That's what
The
Gen Z is
Zoomers?
called. That's what Gen Z is called now.
Yeah.
Oh, because it's Zoom.
Yeah.
Should have invested in that. Is it really?
I'm learning new things.
Yeah, there is a new.
Oh, yeah.
There is a new name, Zoomers.
All right, I like it.
Anyway, so my hope is that when you strip everything away, it's like, what's left? And my hope is that people would have used this last year to come into a greater understanding into this year, into who they are in God. Like, what is your identity? And stick to that. Be devoted to that. Be strong in that. And then have an understanding of kingdom. Because I think the kingdom, it's interesting in a year like 2020 when you had all the elections going on, all that kind of stuff going political. It's like amazing how people will identify so strongly with one party or the other, or an idea, or an agenda, or an opinion, right? And I think, man, we need a revelation that we are a part of a kingdom.
Right.
And the king is very clear
So
on
good.
many issues.
Yeah.
And
Many.
Pretty much all of them. Yeah. There's not an issue. Most of them, all of them. And I think we have to have this understanding. Again, it comes back to identity. I'm a part of a kingdom.
Yes.
And that kingdom has a king. So I need to know who I am, and I need to know who he is.
So good.
In my life and in this world. And my hope is that for this next year, people would have a greater understanding of that than ever before.
It's really good. How about you, honey? Do you have anything to add to that?
I think my hope for 2021 is that we have an understanding of unity within the global church,
Let's go.
right? So coming out of 2020, I noticed with everything that happened, how we got so divided on such little things, right? And we wavered, right, on a lot of things. Some people, wait. So my hope is that we as the church, as the global church, as family, right? We have an understanding that united we can stand stronger, right? And we can change things. And we know what we're standing on, right? Like those foundations are it's a rock, right? It's not sand, right?
Right.
It's not something that can just be washed away and now all the things that we're fighting about are good for another, 4 more years, and they're all going to come back up.
Right.
So that's my hope, is just that if we can understand and walk in the unity of who we're called to be as Christians, as, the kingdom of God, I think we'll be in a much better place.
Yeah. Huge.
Much better place.
So good.
It's really good, man.
That's my hope.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And more babies.
Of course.
Not for me. Not for me.
No.
Not for me.
There'll be a lot of quarantine babies.
I know. I'm
yeah,
so glad. I know.
Well, I kind of, like we talked about, like our hope for 2021 a little bit, and I thought, as church leaders and as people who are around people, I think we don't talk about the fruit of 2020 a lot.
Right.
What do you think was some of the biggest fruit you saw in the kingdom of God, in the church, in your lives, in 2020?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Also a good question.
Very good question.
I'll start with us.
Yeah, please.
I think priorities.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
I think we started talking about it at the beginning of last year, that we wanted to see discipline in certain areas of our lives, that we wanted to really prioritize certain areas of our lives. And so, really what we're passionate about is like God, our marriage,
Right.
our family, and his church.
Yeah.
So good.
And just prioritizing that and looking at what is my time going to and why is my calendar always full?
What are we doing?
And and what is it full of? And is it going to the right things? And am I spending my energy on the things that I should and my time on the things that I should? And when, a ways now, when we had that time to just like everything kind of halted and stopped and you're left with like me, myself, and I, and the world that you've kind of created, but that just kind of vanished in front of you.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you really prioritizing and building with? And so, and I think I've seen through that prioritizing, and I will say vulnerability.
Yeah.
I've seen so much fruit in vulnerability because in so many conversations, I would, I look back now and your usual conversation goes like this: how you doing? Good, but busy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, me too. Okay, good to see you. See you later. On to my next thing.
Right.
And now it's like, how are you doing?
Yeah.
This is kind of a wild thing going on.
Yeah.
Right.
How's your job? What's happening with your family? Are you guys okay? Do you have what you need? Is there like the family of God dynamic and caring for one another?
It's huge.
And having
Yes.
those real conversations about like, I don't think I'm doing okay.
Right.
This is all change and I don't know how to cope and how do I work through this? And so many fruitful conversations about how do we navigate hard seasons and how do we
So
come
good.
together
Yeah.
and how do we lean on one another and not live in isolation and lean on one another. So I thought I saw a lot of fruit in that.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I think with a year like we've had, being in quarantine, and I think you learn a lot about yourself.
You do.
And I think you,
Yes.
so I feel like I've learned a lot about myself this year. And I think you might have issues in your life, but you're so busy. There's so much going on. You never really give it a lot of time. And I feel like in a year like this, you almost like with everything getting stripped, like we talked about, stripped back, stripped away. It's like, what are you left with? Who am I? I just think that this year has been a defining year for me in terms of just, I guess the fruit in my own life would be like just coming into a greater strength of identity, coming to a greater confidence in like myself and in God, and like trusting in God.
Right.
Again, everything's stripped back. Who can you trust?
Right.
Yeah.
You can trust God.
Absolutely.
And so I think this has definitely been a year of just leaning in a little bit more to who God is, and I think that in itself produces fruit of just your relationship going deeper with God, but also for me personally, just coming into like just stuff comes up.
Yeah.
Stuff comes to the surface.
Yeah.
And it's ucky, and you're like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
And so then you're like, well, in seasons past, you might have avoided it, but this year, can't. I
Yeah.
need to look at this.
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I think that's been really fruitful for myself.
Really good.
This year, yeah.
Good.
So good.
And I think like the priority thing is huge. And just shaking up routine, I think for so many people, conversations you have with people, it's like they're like, what am I doing with my time? So I think that across the board is a valuable moment to just take stock of your life. And I've seen so many people do that, which I think is beneficial.
Yeah.
Right.
What am I going
Absolutely.
to do? What's my future look like?
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
What about for you guys?
Yeah, do you want me to go first? Or you want to go first?
I think for me, well, I agree with Jed 100%. With everything stripped away, you really had to look on who you are in God, right? Because sometimes it is so easy to get caught up in all the things that you do for church, right?
Yeah.
Like X, Y, Z, we do this, okay. And, you neglect the basic things, right? Like reading your Bible or praying or, you know what I mean? The things that you should be doing, you fill up your time doing other things that you think are great, and they are, but stripping it all back, you're like, oh, you know what I mean? Okay, now I really need to focus on this. So I think that part for me was great, wonderful, fun and hard, right? But I also think for me, it gave me a new appreciation for the family of God, right? Because I think sometimes you see people on Sundays or, when you get together for functions or you kind of just like, oh, okay, hey, do you know what I mean? You take it a little bit for granted, I think. Yeah. And not having that, and you're like, I missed it so much, and I didn't realize how much a part of me they were. Do you know? Because you see them all the time. Right. So it made me have a new appreciation for the family of God and what we were doing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
At least
really
for
good.
me. So.
Yeah, it's really good.
That's awesome.
I think I remember Andrew years ago when he was doing this, when we were doing certain kinds of discipleship groups. He would do this teaching about fish. And I don't remember exactly how he said, but I think he said a dead fish in a running river looks alive.
Oh, yes, I do remember that.
You throw a dead fish in a moving river and
Right.
it looks like it's swimming.
Yes.
Yes, I do remember that.
And I remember like halfway through, the quarantine, going, man, like you can see the difference between the fish that were actually alive.
Yeah.
And when I talk about the fruit of this year, it's the shaking that I think God did.
100%.
Yeah.
And he literally took the church and he shook it and literally said, these are my children who are alive.
Yeah.
And they're on fire and they're
Amen.
excited.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was really interesting to me. Like the fruit of this season for me has been seeing the people of God that we're giving our lives to come alive and just stand.
Yeah.
Stand on God's principles. Stand in
good.
faith.
Yeah.
And you saw a lot of people coming out of quarantine for whatever reason.
Yeah.
They just happen to be part of a stream.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that now they have a chance to decide if they want to come alive to the things of
100%.
God.
Yeah.
And they've had this realization that where they were at, this place that they were at, whether it be the church they were at or what they were serving in, what they were doing in, they weren't actually alive. They were just part of the stream.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the fruit of this is that people can take an evaluation of themselves and they can look at it and say, I want to be alive.
Yeah.
I don't want to be just a dead fish that looks alive.
Right.
Amen.
That's
Me
so
neither.
good.
And I am so grateful that, Manny mentioned it, the appreciation for the family of God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I got to tell you, I don't know. My heart has never longed for the church family as much as it did in 2020.
Oh, I know.
Long, and it was really interesting to me, phone calls and Zoom and all those things are great.
Great.
But worshiping together,
Right.
Yeah.
your first love.
Yeah.
And I think most people's first love is probably worship.
Sure.
Right.
Like the thing that when you come to church, and I remember we used to do 2 services years ago.
Yeah.
I used to call it the sandwich. We'd go to the first service, we'd do worship, word, stay for worship, book out for lunch. The sandwich worship service. And I think going back to your first love, fellowship is how you fall in love with the people of God and the kingdom builders you're building with. That was removed. Now we're seeing people long for it and come back for it.
Right.
Have a greater priority.
Yeah.
All of that.
Yeah.
And so I think when I think about 2020, I'm very grateful for what God did in the church and in setting us up to be alive.
Yeah.
I agree.
love
Things of
that.
Him and like you, I have huge faith for 2021. And
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
It's gonna be huge.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. I do want to end with one last question. Is that fair?
Please.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So it's a two-part question.
Okay.
Okay. So you guys, let's say you're 25.
Okay.
Let's say. I don't know how old
So
you
just
really
2
are.
years ago.
Yeah. So let's look at your life. I want you to think about 10 years ago. So go back however old you are today.
Okay.
Go back 10 years.
ago.
Okay.
What would you say would be the number one piece of advice you'd give Jed Kasica
10 years ago, what would you tell Jed?
Wow.
Or Kayla?
And what would I
Little
tell Jed
baby.
10 years ago?
Right.
Wait a minute.
Mine's still the same. Pick up those clothes.
So what would
Clearly.
you tell Jed and what would you tell Kayla?
Oh man, 10 years ago. Okay. So I was 22,
Okay.
because I'm 32. And so I was 3 years walking with God. Man, I feel like this is like a mantra for my life, which will continue to have to be learned and has been learned over time.
Yeah.
That is like one, which is the cheesy cliche of enjoying the journey.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, but truly not stressing about all the big milestones
Yeah.
that you're
Right.
going to stress about. You're
yeah.
going to
Oh,
stress
right.
about who you marry. You're going to stress about what degree you get. You're going to stress
Yeah.
about when do you start. Like, all the things. And what I've always summarized it in is like, I want God's purpose over my plan any day.
Come on.
Because I'm a
Yeah.
big planner, and I had my whole life planned out. I had planned out who I was going to marry
Yeah.
and what they were going to be like,
Yeah.
and when I would start having kids, and what kind of career I was going to go into. And my life did not go to my plan.
No.
It went to God's purpose, which is
Right.
a million
Right.
times better
100 times.
than
Yeah.
I ever could have planned.
So good.
And so I would have told myself back then to just lean into that more.
So good.
Because all the stress that covered and surrounded that shift from my plan to God's purpose
Yeah.
and the all-out wrestling match I would have with him at
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Like I could have enjoyed the gifts that he wanted to give me so much more quickly had I just embraced that instead of stressed
Right.
over it.
So good.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's what I would have
Good.
said.
How about you, Jed?
Two things. I think first one would be like just trust God.
Yeah.
Trust God with it. Like
Yeah.
don't try and do it all yourself,
Yeah.
but lean into Him. And the second thing, which is I would say this, I'd be like, just write more songs.
Yeah.
Get it, like don't wait.
Right.
You know, if this is in you, whatever it is, I'm speaking to you right now. Like just do it.
Yeah, man,
like
come on.
Don't waste time. Don't discount yourself. Don't push it to the side. Like make it a priority. Because
So
if
good.
God's put it in you, like if He asks you for something and He's put it in you, I heard this from Stephen Furtick. Love that guy.
Bring it.
If He put it in you and He's asked you for it, it's because He's already put it in you. Something
So
like
good.
that.
Yeah.
It was better when He said it.
Yeah. We have no doubt.
I got goosies. But I just think I think those two things, trust God more and just do it.
So good.
Write more songs, whatever that means to you.
Come on, I like that.
Yeah.
Just
All right.
do it.
So then, the second part of that question, if you could go in a time machine and go talk to you 10 years from now, what do you think 10 years from now would tell you about today?
Okay, one, that is I gotta get my head around
I
that.
know. I'm like, wait,
Yeah,
where
that-
am I going? Who
What
am
would
I
the
talking
You in
to?
15 years in the future.
knowing
and then
what
this
you guys
person
are
5 years
passionate about now, right?
Yeah.
And what you just said, what you would say to your younger self.
Yeah.
What would the future you say to you now to help you get to what you're passionate about?
Work out more.
Oh,
No.
My
I think that's probably what he would say. That's pretty accurate. I've seen
Wow.
him work out.
Okay, I will go. Because mine kind of piggybacks on that.
Yeah.
I have been working out this whole
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job,
for a
girl.
year
Right.
now.
Oh, good
because
job.
At the beginning of 2020, I made a decision.
You were the first person I knew to do Beachbody. Very first.
Whoa.
Thank OG.
Yeah,
over
OG
here.
right there.
oh, gee, you go,
But
girl.
what I feel like it's spilled into other areas of my life.
Yeah.
And what I think in 10 years I would say to myself today is similar to what you said to your younger self.
Yeah.
Like make time for what you know God has called you
So
to.
good. So
It is
good.
this
Yeah.
crazy balance of like faith, trusting God, not strutting about the process, not worrying about it, not losing sleep over it.
Right.
At the same time, putting your hand to the plow.
So good.
Prioritizing. Like if I can give half an hour to scrolling on social media, surely I can give half an hour to writing that song, or writing that book, or calling that person, or just doing the things that you know without a doubt God has called you to.
Right.
I've been thinking a lot about just the prophetic words that God has spoken over my life, and I don't want to arrive to those unprepared.
Right.
That's good.
So prepare yourself for what God has prepared for you.
So good.
Oh, boom. Drop
I
it.
got it from Christine Kane, but I delivered it
I don't know if she delivered it better.
Right. I mean,
we know that Stephen Furtick did better than Jed. We know that without a shadow of a doubt. There's no question.
Oh, shoot, how do you follow that?
Hopefully better than the last
Oh, I hope so too. The thing that sticks in my head is don't manufacture it.
Come on. I totally
So
agree,
you're like, yep, Jed, you need to hear that right now. I'll call you tomorrow.
No. Listen, I'm not calling. He's fine.
Don't manufacture it. I think for
really good.
my journey, I think I definitely could see myself striving and trying to make something work, whatever it could be.
Yeah.
And I think don't manufacture it. Like,
good.
if God is in it, if God is with you, like He'll make a way.
Yeah.
He'll do it. Back to that trust Him. But like, I think so often, even for myself, it's like I will work tirelessly at something, forgetting that God is doing it all.
right.
So
And
good.
I think I'm somehow contributing to this, but really, anytime anything works, I think it's God's goodness and favor and working through us, obviously, but like, just don't manufacture it.
Really good.
It's really good.
So good.
Good job, guys.
Amen.
Well, guys.
Well, excited for 2021.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting year.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And I just want to
Sure.
take the time to say thank you so
Thank
much.
you
Thank you guys
guys
for
so
having
Thank you
us.
guys.
much.
This is
This
so
is an
fun.
honor. This is an honor.
This is
What a great
blast.
way to start the year.
It is
know,
a good way to start
right?
the
I
year.
know.
Podcast.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
I know. Cheers, guys.
Yeah.
Cheers, Jed. I wish you had that drink now.
Shoot.